Ravens, we're about to begin a book group journey, and you're also reading your independent reading books. And we've been making inferences and predictions about your character, setting, conflicts, and themes all year. But as we head into this next unit, we're going to be looking at certain kinds of text which might be signals to you to stop and make really good inferences and predictions. And these are called notice and note signposts. You've read some of these in your social studies class, nonfiction signposts, and there's fiction signposts too. These are specific kinds of text clues which are especially good for making predictions and inferences. And when you see them, you should stop and you should ask yourself a question. And the answer to that question is going to provide you information about the character, the setting, the conflict, or the theme. The first signpost is called contrasts and contradictions, and you probably use this all the time in your real life. When you see someone who's acting in a way they don't usually act, you stop and ask yourself, what's going on? Why are they acting this way? We do this in text too. I know the cartoon strip Baby Blues, and in this strip, Hammy and his sister Wren are just fighting all the time. When his mother notices they're not fighting, she says, "Oh, it's nice you two are not fighting." And Hammy says, "That's because I love my big sister." And I would stop because he doesn't usually act this way and think, what's going on? They might make a prediction. Something is up. Maybe he's plotting something. And when we read on to the next strip, it turns out it's true. He says he's plotting a surprise attack. So, when you're reading a text and a character says or does or feels something that's the opposite or that contradicts what they've done in the past, or what you do in that situation, or what other characters do, you should stop and ask yourself, why is the character doing that or feeling that? Then answer your question. The answer could help you make a prediction, maybe think about what's going to happen in the story, or could help you make an inference about the character. What kind of person are they? Or what kind of problem are they having? Okay, so let's look at how contrasts and contradictions might be found in a text. I'm going to use Among the Hidden by Margaret Peterson Haddix, and this is the first page of chapter 1. So I'm just getting oriented to this story. I'm trying to figure out who are the characters, what problems might they have, and what kind of a place is this. Let's look for some contrast and contradiction as I read. Here we go. He saw the first tree shudder and fall far off in the distance. Then he heard his mother call out the kitchen window, "Luke, inside, now!" He had never disobeyed the order to hide. Even as a toddler, barely able to walk in the backyard's tall grass, he had somehow understood the fear in his mother's voice. But on this day, the day they began taking the woods away, he hesitated. Wait, I'm hearing that but. But on this day, he hesitated. That seems like something different. He had never disobeyed the order to hide. And in contrast, today, he's hesitating. I'm going to keep reading to see if there's more to this contrast and contradiction, and then I'm going to come back and think about why the character is doing that. He took one extra breath of the fresh air, scented with clover and honeysuckle and, coming from far away, pine smoke. He laid his hoe down gently and savored one last moment of feeling warm soil beneath his bare feet. He reminded himself, I will never be allowed outside again. Maybe never again as long as I live. What? That seems unusual. He turned and walked away into the house as silently as a shadow. Okay, so I'm going to go back now and I'm going to think, all right, why is the character doing that or feeling that? Why did he hesitate today even though he'd never disobeyed the order to hide? Well, I think there's some answers that are provided a little bit in the text. One is, it's a super nice day outside. There's like fresh air that smells like honeysuckle and clover, right? He's savoring the feeling of warm soil beneath his bare feet. So he just wants to stay outside because it's nice. But also, it seems like he says, I'll never be allowed outside again, maybe never again as long as I live. That's kind of crazy. I don't know what kind of place this is, but it seems like there's lots of rules, and if he's never going to be able to go outside, well, I would hesitate too. So there's sort of the specific reasons. It's a nice day, and he's never lived outside again, or he might never be outside again. I'm going to try and make some predictions about his character. I think that he's been a very obedient person in the past, but because he hesitated, even though he went inside today, that maybe in the future he's not going to. Maybe he's going to become a rebel. And in terms of the conflict, I can say this is the kind of place, one, where his mother has a lot of fear, so it's the kind of place where maybe people are scared of the society or the government. Also, it seems like there's a lot of rules. This thing about not being allowed outside, that seems like something that both inspires fear and is really strict. And then something seems to be happening today. This is what's different is they're taking the woods away the day they began this. And I don't know who they is yet, but I'm thinking maybe there's a character versus society kind of conflict here. And maybe this character is going to resist and rebel. Or maybe this character is going to rebel against their mother or their family's order for them to hide. So those are my predictions about the character and the conflict. So we're going to be keeping a signpost log. And if you have your log right next to you, you can write the text that made you see the signpost directly in your log, or you can write it on a sticky note. That's what I've done here. So I've got my sticky note, and I've quoted the green text that I saw that made me think, aha, that's a contrast and contradiction. And you'll see that I've got quotation marks around the exact words of the text. And you'll see that I've left out some of the text. I've only got the part that I highlighted in green. He had never disobeyed the order to hide. Because I left out some text, I put an ellipsis here. I wrote ... And then, but on this day, and then I left out another phrase, so another ... But on this day, he hesitated. Finally, I've put the page number where I found this text in parentheses and put a period at the very end. So now I've got my sticky note, and I'm going to take my sticky note and put that on my log when I'm ready to do that. So now we're going to record our thinking on the signpost log. You should have the title of the book you're working with and the author's name filled in. You also should have your name so we can give you credit for your work. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to fill in the date that you filled out the log, and you're going to note the kind of signpost. Right now we're only working with contrasts and contradictions, but there are other kinds of signposts. We're going to put the text here. I've just taped my sticky note on here. You could write the text directly from your book into this box. And now I'm going to try and capture the important inferences or predictions that I made when I was thinking aloud on the text. The first thing was that I infer he wants to stay outside because it's a nice day. I might say I could infer that, probably should say Luke wants to stay outside because it's a nice day. But more importantly, I think he believes that he can't ever come out again if he goes into hiding. Now, this makes me think that something new and different is happening because he's been hiding since he was a toddler. Even though Luke did obey this time, I predict that he's not going to remain obedient. I think that hesitating is the first sign that he's considering not obeying. So what I did was I made a prediction, and then I gave you my reason that I made that prediction, like the background knowledge that I have. Then I talked about the conflict. Related to the conflict, I infer that this is the kind of place where people live in fear and there's lots of harsh rules. Based on that inference, I predict that Luke is going to resist the rules of the society or his parents' command to obey the rules, because that's just how these stories often go. You'll notice what I didn't put in here was the text evidence that supports my thinking. I did highlight that in the text, and if I were writing a claim paragraph, I could go back and look for that, but I don't want to write down too much here. I just want to record what my predictions and inferences are for now. So you may begin your independent reading and look for contrasts and contradictions. If you find other places in the text where you think you need to stop and make an inference or prediction, of course you should do so, but this is just one kind of clue that we're especially going to look for. Good luck!